So, you want to train for front splits, and I've got 3 factors that I need you to consider. My name's Kim, I'm an ex-gymnast, personal trainer, online mobility coach, and I've actually got a Splitsmas challenge coming up, so I'll tell you more about that at the end. In this video, I'm going to show you a number of exercises with some coaching tips to get you started. Number 1, most important, the warm-up. For you to get into these extreme ranges that are required for splits, you need your muscles to be warm, and it's also a good opportunity to start building in some strength work to help you get there. Number 2, we need to make it skill specific, so that actually makes sense what we're training for towards the splits. We need that extreme range, so we need to train that range as well and also build strength in order to maintain those results. And finally, number 3, passive stretching, which is what most people go to when trying to get to the splits. You may find that you'll stretch one day, feel amazing, but then go back the next day and feel like you're back to square one. You just don't maintain results as well with passive stretching alone, but it's a super useful method to calm your nervous system, especially if you're using your breathing, slowing it down and trying to relax into the stretch. That feeling of tightness that we get is when our body doesn't feel safe. And usually that's because of tightness and most likely weakness, which is why strength training plays such an important role in today's video. So, let's get into it. So, let's get into the warm-up and strength section of your splits training. As you can see, I am doing some single leg heel raises to work my calf muscles. If you are not ready for this, you can do the regular variation. Just make sure to keep your feet parallel to each other and push the big toes down throughout. And that's the same with your single leg heel raises. The importance of doing this: if you have tight or weak calves, this could hold you back with improving your hamstring flexibility. Now to target the backs of your legs, specifically your hamstrings and your glute muscles, I'm starting off with some slow and controlled glute bridges, which is great for a warm-up or if you're a beginner, but you probably will want to challenge yourself more, so I really recommend these glute bridge marches. Notice how my toes are lifted and I'm pushing through my heels, which will target the back of the legs more. And I'm going slow and controlled and ensuring my hips stay lifted and that I don't lose my posterior pelvic tilt. My hips are staying tucked under and my ribs are pressed down to avoid any lower back arch or discomfort. Next, we want to strengthen the opposite side of the body, your hip flexors, and this will help with improving your hamstring flexibility long term, and it will also help to reduce tightness in the hip flexors. I know people often think that strength training makes you tighter, but this is definitely not the case. Now, the warm-up is almost over and I can hear you saying, warm-up? This is much harder than a regular warm-up because yes, we are training strength, but you will find that you will be more ready to get into deeper ranges of flexibility, especially with your passive stretches, after doing this so-called warm-up / secret strength training. So as you will have seen, I'm maintaining that posterior pelvic tilt. I'm squeezing my glutes and making sure that my knee stays under my hip, and this will give you the most effective stretch down the front of the leg into the quad and the hip flexors, whilst also working on strength. So yes, we are still strength training, but now it is more specific to our goal, which is splits and having a deeper range of flexibility to achieve this more advanced skill. So here I am working on my hamstring flexibility, but also contracting as I'm coming up. I'm squeezing my glutes and my hamstrings are engaged. So to set this up, you're going to stand your working leg on the band, hold the band into your chest, and notice how I've positioned my stabilizer leg. My knees are still in line with each other, but my leg is bent so that my toes are slightly behind me. So you can see here my toes are extended, but my knees are still staying in line, and my working leg has a slight bend in it. This will still allow me to achieve a stretch, but then it's just a more stable contraction on the way up. So seeing it again from the other leg, I'm stretching the hamstring and then I'm engaging and squeezing at the top. So now we have a deep lunge, creating a similar position as you would have on the back leg in the splits. We are working on extending the leg backwards, so rather than going up and down, I'm trying to push my heel towards the back of the room, then adding an isometric hold at the end of the set, just for more of a challenge in that position. So showing you again on the other side, my hips are fully tucked under, I'm engaging my glute, and I'm pushing my heel to the back of the room, which will provide a stretch along the front of the hip, and it is very much an active stretch and not passive. Finally, it's time for some passive stretching, and what I love about this style of training is that it's all about using your breath and trying to get yourself into a relaxed state, which will calm your nervous system and allow your muscles to go into the deepest range they are ready for. So I'm using the band to help assist me with this. Notice how my arms are close into the ground, so I'm not struggling with my arms. If you have good flexibility, you can pull your arms by your head like I am, or you can take the band off and hold your foot and pull it closer. Obviously, when trying to do splits, we are trying to get into this deeper range, but don't worry if you are not there yet. It is all a gradual process. But I am using my breath, and every time I exhale, I am trying to relax, which is what helps me to gradually get deeper and deeper into this stretch. You might notice in the beginning, I'm not in the same place as where I end up, and I encourage you to aim to do the same. If you are struggling to keep your other leg down on the floor, you can bend the leg, which will enable you to focus on your hamstrings more on the working leg. And you can also point your foot, which will help to reduce the stretch. You'll notice when you flex your foot, it's a deeper stretch, and when you point, it's not. And the same goes when you get round to practicing your splits. If it is too intense with a flex foot, you can point your foot, and I encourage you to use yoga blocks. I can get my splits flat, but I always work on holding up in a higher position as if I'm trying to squeeze my legs together. I think it's important to feel that you have strength and control over a range before you go into a deeper position. So I like to spend some time here focusing on my breathing, and then when I feel ready, I will slowly ease down into the stretch, focusing on trying to lift my head up towards the ceiling, which also gives me a feeling that I am in control. How are you feeling? Probably a bit tired. What I recommend you do is get up and have a move around after you've done the splits. Try not to just sit still after that. Try and keep moving. But if those exercises were new for you, you're probably going to feel a bit sore tomorrow or the next day. And that is totally normal. That's what happens whenever there's a new stressor placed on the body. It's called delayed onset of muscle soreness. And the best way to manage it is to keep moving, drink plenty of water, fuel your body with all the nutrients that it needs, and make sure you get a good quality night's sleep. So although these exercises I've shown you today are great for working towards the splits, your journey is going to be that much harder if you're not looking after your health otherwise. So I did mention I have a Splitsmas challenge coming up. This basically means splits for Christmas. It's a 6 weeks challenge starting on November the 7th, and you'll get access to the 6 videos from the same challenge last year where people who joined in achieved results like this. Now this is just a 6-week challenge, so don't expect to achieve flat splits in this time, but as you can see, your splits can definitely improve. The aim of the challenge is to teach you gradual progressions each week of how to work towards splits, and then how you can carry on with this and maintain your practice for however long it takes you from there. It really depends on the individual as to how long it's going to take and how much time you can put into it. But the benefit of being part of the challenge is you'll get my support via WhatsApp group, be part of a community doing the training as well, all just in time for Christmas. If you have any questions, would like to know more, or want to request some future videos, I plan to be doing some more follow-along videos in the future, comment below and let me know how I can help you. And if you like this style of content, please like and or subscribe. It all goes a long way in letting me know what content I can produce to help you. And if you do see improvements with your splits, I would love to know. Make sure to message me.